What is going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Growth Grit Grind podcast. It is brought to you by the company that I own, Speak Loud Group. We're a digital marketing and advertising agency. And today, we do not have a guest with us today. We're lining up guests going through the rest of March and on into April. And we've got some awesome folks that are going to be coming on and talking to you about their businesses, how they got started, their entrepreneurial journey, how they overcome some adversity, how they navigated those challenges of getting started and growing it and scaling it. And we're excited about who's going to be on here. So buckle up and be prepared. If you're not subscribed, absolutely you should be. So make sure you subscribe wherever you may be watching this. If you are listening on one of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else, then make sure that you are in tune with the new episodes that are going to be coming out. If you're on YouTube, then please absolutely subscribe. Love to have you. If you're over on TikTok, we do post a lot of clips over on TikTok, and we'd love to have you following the actual podcast if you like some of those bite-sized pieces we have over there. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart and our agency's heart, and that is ads and conversions, leads, sales, all of the fun stuff. We do a lot of consulting work for larger companies that maybe have a team in-house, but they're wanting to take their efforts to the next level. And so they bring us in to do an analysis or an audit on their campaigns. And here's what I specifically want to talk about. Every single time we sit down to do one of these trainings or whatever you want to call them, where I don't have a guest, take the opportunity to talk about something either we're dealing with in our business, something that has come up with a current client, or something that may have come up in a team meeting or as a part of a consultation that we did. And that is kind of it's a little bit of everything this week. So we've dealt with this not only in our business that as we're beginning to navigate things and working on our scaling into some new markets that we're looking at, but also we had this conversation as a part of a consultation last week, and then also as a part of several client meetings that we had. New clients that are coming on, part of the thing that we do from the very beginning when a brand new client comes on is we strategize. We go, okay, what ultimately is your goal? What are you wanting to do? Typically all of them go increase sales. Okay, how are we navigating that? What do we have that we're bringing to the table to drive that machine? So we have vehicles and we have drivers. And so what are we doing? What vehicle are we getting in, and what is the driver for that vehicle? Because you can have a vehicle with no engine and no driver that just sits there, and you're completely wasting that vehicle that you have to get you from point A to point B. So you have to have a driver behind it. So we start talking about offers, and most people relate that to monetary value. And that's not always the case. An offer is what you have that is available to your audience. What do you have that has a high perceived value that you could provide to your audience? Maybe it is monetary, maybe it's a discount, but maybe it's knowledge, maybe it's information, maybe it's something they didn't know in the past and now they know because of you, and therefore you have gained some authority with them. You have gained a listener, a follower from that experience. So I want to walk through really six total things that we've identified when we walk through campaigns. A brand new client comes on and we're examining what they've done in the past, or we take on a consultating agreement and we're looking through their campaigns and we're seeing what they're currently doing. These are the 6 things that we've identified of why campaigns fail. So we're not going to run through them in any particular order, but we're going to spend a little time on each one because I want to make sure that we explain this thoroughly. So again, you can leave this podcast and you can go implement some of this information in your business today, right now, and you have a strategic advantage over your competition. And here's why we do it. And I had this conversation just before we started recording this with a phone consult that we did. We offer discovery calls where we're able to hop on the phone for a bit and see where they're at, talk about what we do, give them a little bit of tips and tricks they can use. And then ideally, our goal in the long run is we gave that advice. They paid me nothing for that phone call. And we gave them a couple of pieces of advice they could go take and implement. And here's what it does is I'm able to help another business maybe go from point A to point B or C. And they're going to continue growing. They're trying to get to point D, E, F, G. They're trying to grow. They're trying to become massive. They're trying to scale. So that is ultimately what we offer, is that we want to help businesses get to the point to where they need us. So whether they eventually hire us and bring us on as their marketing and advertising extension to do creative for them, to run their campaigns for them, or they don't. But we know that by paying it forward, it pays dividends. And we've seen that. And so that's something that maybe you can take into your business as well. And as we're starting to walk through these different things, we do that because we know, and it works out fantastic for us. We know not everyone is looking to hire us today. We know not everyone has their revenue where they want it to be able to hire us or to bring an internal team in or for anything for that matter. They're handling it all themselves. But if we can give them some nuggets and some tips and some tricks and some advice that they can take and then implement in their business and begin to scale, then they're going to be looking back to the people who gave them some advice, some help, and lifted them up along the way. And we're not standing there with our hand out. We're going, hey, when you need us, when you're ready, we're here. Our phone number's not changing. Our email address is the same. Shoot us a text, whatever you want to do, we're still here for you. So that's where some of this comes from. So the number one thing that you want to look at is, what is your offering? We see people miss the mark on the offer all the time. So let's start with monetary. Monetary, I don't get excited for 10% off. I don't get excited about 20% off. I start paying attention probably at that 25% mark. But specifically, you tell me it's 40% or 50% off, and I'm going, man, like I should probably pay attention to this. And I don't care what that is. I'm a constant learner. Our agency, we have implemented a constant learning strategy where we only know that we do not know everything. And we know that the world of digital marketing and advertising is constantly changing. And we know the world of entrepreneurship and business is constantly changing. Maybe not the principles, but how they're executed. There are strategies. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to look at those that have gone before us and take some of their knowledge and apply it in what we're doing. So that being said, is that you've got to look at the offer. What is the offering that you're putting in front of your audience? Are you offering them a certain percentage off? Is it so low that they're not excited? Do they look at it and go 10% off? Like, man, that's barely tax. Like, it doesn't get me excited. It doesn't make me want to drive down and go shop at their business. It doesn't make me want to go down and buy the ice cream. It doesn't make me want to go and subscribe to their pest control. It doesn't make me want to take action. So you have to find, and this goes back to a sales thing that I taught for a long time, is like there's this buying threshold, is that if you build enough value, then you will tip the scales. There's like a cost side and a value side. And I've talked about this before. And if you can tip that scale to the value side, then you will have their action threshold take place where they go, that's enough value that I don't want to miss out on that. So you have to be thinking in the way of that. I'm not saying that you go broke. I'm not saying that you don't make money. I'm not saying that you lose money for sure. And I'm saying if you are talking about monetary, then what can you do to offer some type of incentive to gain a customer? Because again, it's not about that singular transaction. It's about the lifetime value. And I'm going to give you a really good example. I work with a spirit company, and we rolled out a campaign recently where we offered an incredible incentive to drive traffic into their business. And it is working phenomenally. Really good, really, really good. And I'm not going to give out details. I don't share my client secrets. It's what they pay us for. But it's working really, really well. And what we did was we worked in collaboration with them. I had a thought. We had an idea that we kind of cultivated and worked with, and then presented to them and said, I want to do this. I want to present this offer. You guys need to help us on the numbers side and let us know what still is profitable or in the realm of possibility. But we want to execute this, and we want to get it out to your ideal audience and your target audience to get more and more folks that know about you now, but are willing to come in and spend money with you. And that was the whole goal. And so we landed on a dollar amount that we felt feasible, and we felt that it was attractive, and we put it out there. And we started running a campaign. And the campaign is performing to this day, at this moment, exceptionally well. You have to do that. So if you're doing it inside your business, it might be sitting down with your core team, your leadership, your ownership, and saying, what could we provide of value? And again, I want to expand that. It's not just about money. It's not just about a percentage. It can be about value. What information do you have available? Are you a lender? Are you a realtor? Are you in pest control? What type of information can you provide to your end user, your consumer, to help them feel more educated, to feel more comfortable in the buying process, to feel more comfortable in knowing that they can apply and get approved for a home loan, that they can apply and get approved for a car loan, that just because rates are up doesn't mean that they can't purchase a car or a home. Or if you do pest control, how can you give them, are there certain tips and tricks that you're not putting yourself out of business? You're not telling them, because no one's going to want to do it on their own forever. But they'll take some of those tips and tricks and advice and implement them and go, man, these folks know what they're talking about. It could be the top 10 ways to pest proof your home. And you could offer a guide. You can offer an informational PDF. You could offer, and it may link back to your website. You may ask for something in exchange for that. You may ask them to opt into a text. You may ask them to opt into an email. But now you've gained an audience with them. You have an ear. You have someone listening. You have someone that is open because you gave them professional advice, and you weren't standing there with your hands out going, can you give me some money for this? you're exchanging some level of value for something. So that's what I want you to think about when you're trying to draft your offer. If you do not have a great offer, if you do not have something that you're putting in front of your audience that has a high perceived value, then you're not going to convert. You're not going to have people clicking on it. You're not going to have people fill out your form. You're not going to have people go hit your website because they don't care. You did not increase that value scale enough to make them take action. So you have to look at that first and foremost. And again, this is not really in order, but the offer is really, really important. It's something that you need to sit back. The ones that are going out there and clicking boost post and promoting something that you think is awesome is not always what is going to be the driver to get them to move to the next step. So you have to sit back and go, what is valuable to our end user? What would they be excited about? Maybe it's a percentage, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something of knowledge, or maybe it's something of value that you need to be presenting to your audience. So you've got to really sit back and hone in on what Alex Hormozi would call your home run offer, is what you want to sit back and think about. How do we come up with a compelling, can't resist, have to have it type of offer? And you create some level of FOMO there where they don't want to miss out. Next is your call to action. We see this missed a lot, is that you may have an offer that you have out there. Maybe it's a good one, but you're not telling the people what you want them to do, whether it's in the copy. When I say copy, for those of you that are not familiar or not very versed in it, copy is simply your text up in the ad. Is that what you're telling them in that text and what you tell them down there in that headline where there's a little button, if you even have a button at all. But you want to be progressing these folks through that pipeline. Maybe your first level of campaigns that you put out was a branding. Maybe it was a highlight video of what you do or around your store. Maybe it was you talking about something, providing really good value, and then you progress them into the next ad where those people watched that first video, or they opted into your email list, or whatever they may have done, whatever action you were asking them to take. But then you take them to the next step where you're really asking them to do something. Maybe on that first level, they were just watching a video. That was the objective. You wanted them to watch a video. You wanted to gauge interest. And if you didn't know that, you can gauge interest based on video views. As you launch that video view campaign and you get 10,000 or 100,000 views on it, you can then go measure and go, I want to retarget the people that watched a certain percentage of this video. Because the people that just scrolled right past it and only got the 3-second video view, yeah, sure, it counted as a view for me and it looks good, but they're not that interested. They scrolled right past it. I want to target the people who stayed for a little bit and watched a little bit of this video because there's a level of interest there. Either they liked my clothing, they liked my service, they're shopping, they're looking at buying, they're interested for one reason or the other. Sure, there may be competitors in there, but it's a small percentage. The mass percentage of that is people who are in your ideal targeting niche and who you're going after. But you have to tell them what you want them to do next. If we launched that most recent campaign for the Spirit Company, we just had a little button in there, or we had a button at all, and we're like, hey, we're running this offer, let us know if you want it. But then we're not giving them the proper tools. We're not saying, click on this link, share this post, fill out this form. Like, we've got to give them a clear call to action. What are we asking them to do, and what are we giving them in exchange? You have to have a clear call to action. Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to go to your website? Do you need them to fill out a form? Are they supposed to share? Are they supposed to comment? What do you want them to do? And make sure that it's very clear and very concise. Step 1 through 3, whatever you're asking them to do, make sure they understand that it's in the text, it's in the headline, it's in the ad itself, in the creative. You want to make sure you're giving them a clear, concise call to action. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. Next is targeting. We talked about hitting your ideal audience. Some of you are targeting blindly. You're going, well, our business is in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we want anyone that's in Raleigh, North Carolina to see this. But are they your target? We talked about this a little bit in one of our other videos, but if you sell a product that you go back and look at your customer list and 90% of your clientele is women between the ages of 25 and 35, why in the world would you have your targeting so broad around Raleigh, North Carolina, that you're hitting every male and or female between the ages of 18 and 66, 65? Why? Are in your head, are you saying, well, maybe they are our ideal customer, they just don't know about us yet? Well, the numbers don't lie. Statistics don't lie. And most of you could come up with a range or a number. Use data if you can, but if you don't have it, who is your ideal customer? Are they in the age of a homeowner? What's the average age of a homeowner in your area? Are they in a certain demographic as far as employment? Do they work for a certain type of industry that you could absolutely go after and target? Are you searching for sales professionals? Are you searching for attorneys? Are you searching for dentists? What are you looking for? You have to have some key data to know how to build out your targeting. And this is why they fail, is we look through so many campaigns when we're doing consulting that we're like, why are you targeting, men and women over the ages of 45 when you've never sold a product to someone over the age of 45? Well, we want to. Well, maybe they're not your customer. Maybe they are. Maybe you're starting up and you don't really know who your customer is. Like that's understandable. But in the grand scheme of an established business, you should have some level of information on who your target person is. And the beauty of these platforms is you have extensive targeting that is available to you, that you can go in and you can target down to industry. You can target obviously area. You can target age. You can target people with children of certain ages. Like if you run a kid's store, a boutique or something along those lines, like you can go target people who specifically have those kids, and it's fairly accurate. It's not 100% accurate, but it's fairly accurate to be able to identify those right people. And moving beyond, like that's all cold targeting. That's you going out and trying to build your customer avatar, and you still have to rely on the data after the fact. Like you still have to go on the back end and go, well, we're targeting women between the ages of 25 and 45. But on the back end of that, these 100,000 people that have been exposed to our graphic or our video, the lion's share of them that are engaging with it and watching it are in this age bracket. Well, then you refine the next step of the campaign, or you relaunch that same level of the campaign and using that new data that you have collected. But moving beyond that, a lot of you have customer lists that you've been in business for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you have this list of maybe past leads. If you're one of those folks, you're in the service industry and you're executing jobs, you have leads that never turned into actual work. Maybe you bidded on it and they went with someone else. You have a VIP list if you're like a boutique or a shopping location where people have opted in and said, I want rewards and I want to know about your special sales and things like that. You have this list, but are you doing something with it? Maybe you're sending out an email once a quarter, or you're blasting them with like weekend sale, weekend sale, weekend sale. And a lot of people have opted out, and you're going, why are people opting out? Well, you're probably spamming them a little too much. But the reality is you have an asset there. And inside of these digital platforms, you can go in and take that list and upload it. And you can upload multiples. Like I mentioned, leads and customers. You can upload one list that's leads and name it that. You can upload one that is customers and name it that. But then from those lists, you can actually build lookalike audiences. And you can go, hey, platform, here's a list of my customers. It has to be a minimum of 100, but here's a list of my customers. Historically, here's all their email addresses. And what the platform does is it goes, here's Bob Smith. His email address is this, and we've matched it to his Facebook account. This is who he is. And then it goes down the list and it looks, he lives here. He's in this age bracket. He's expressed interest in these types of books or places. He's checked in here. He's done that. He's friends with so-and-so. And then it goes and goes, okay, we know who Bob is. We know where Bob likes to shop. We know things he likes to do. We know his hobbies based on the information he has given the platform. And then they go build a lookalike off of it. They go, let's go find some other people who are just like Bob Smith. Let's go find some people that shop at the same places, that are in the same age demographic, that express similar buying behaviors. Let's go build that avatar that looks just like them. And you can expand it. It can be as narrow or as wide as you want it to be. I personally don't recommend going any higher than, like, say, a really 5% match, but 10 being really the max. But I love that 1 to 5% match because it's accurate. And you're going to be able to find people who are just like the people who are already spending money with you. And so you have to have clear targeting objectives. And realistically, that one, cold and using a targeted list, that's really 2 separate targets, is that you should be running 2 separate campaigns. You should be introducing yourself on one end, and then you should be nudging people that are, if they're already down the line and they're already very similar to your other audience, then you may have a little bit of an advantage there. You may be able to take them down that pipeline a little further, and that's where you kick it off. You're able to go straight into opt-ins. You're able to go straight into click here, do this, do that. Whereas in the beginning, it's cold. You need to find out who your audience is first. So there's some additional steps that you have to take. So fast forwarding, creative. I think that we see a lot of folks do a couple different things. One of those is they get stagnant. They come up with their creative. They spend a whole lot of time coming up with, maybe they worked on their offer, they worked on their call to action, they've worked on their targeting. Now it's time to create something to use. You need to create a graphic or a video or something along those lines. And they spend an exorbitant, so I can't even say a word. They spend a ton of time drafting this creative, whether it be a graphic or it be a video, and then they launch it, and then it's just launched. It's like, we call it set it and forget it. It's like they launch it and they go, yeah, $10 a day, $20 a day, $15 a day, whatever, and they just launch it. And they optimize it for, clicks or, lead forms or whatever they may do. But then what happens is, as it begins to deliver to your target audience, if people are not responding to it, people aren't clicking, they aren't taking action, the ad algorithm looks at that and measures that and goes, man, people don't really like this. Like, they're not responding to it. And you're sitting back going, why am I not getting clicks? Why am I not getting, lead form fills? Why am I not getting traffic over to the website? It could be a lot of it. Could be your offer, could be your call to action, could be your targeting. But a lot of times it is your creative, especially when you set it and forget it. Like, those things need, and that's why we're in business, is like, we rotate creative. when it needs to be. If we have something that's performing really well, then we're not going to rotate it just because a timer went off. Like, we're going to rotate it when we start to see numbers decline or dip or not perform. We're going to rotate it. We're going to create a new graphic. We're going to swap out the video for another video. We're going to do different things. And that's something you're going to have to do. People look at, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even Google ads that don't have as much of a creative, but they look at it as though if I do all the first parts of it correctly and I launch this campaign, then I should see results. In theory, you're right. But in theory, you're right. But you also have to sit back and go, is this the end all be all? Do I know that this is what's going to work? Do I know that this is the right offer? And does the creative reflect that offer? Does the creative talk about the offer? Does the creative have a call to action in it? Is the creative appealing? Does it actually showcase and show off what I'm asking these people to do and trying to tell them about? So we're obviously really big on video. We love video, and there's a few reasons why. One of them is you get some extra data points out of video. Like I mentioned, you can measure how long people watched and retarget based on that and take further action based on that. But video to me is you're able to explain more. You're able to say more. You're able to have a little more salesmanship to it. And a lot of times you got to get away from the sales side. You're not trying to sell your product necessarily from day one, but you're able to put a face to a name. It's much more personable. So, I'm a big fan of video, but I will tell you this, that we have found in some cases that video is not the winner. That if we got on the track of like, well, it's only video or nothing else, we need to record 400 videos a month, and we need to have all these videos rotating, and we've got 2 or 3 running at one time, and we're testing them against each other. The reality may be is like a graphic would have performed really, really well. But if we get stuck in one track mind to where it's video, then it may not perform at its highest ability. And we've seen that across the board. We go in with our clients on a regular basis. We don't get stuck just on video. Even though a lot of our clients spend time, money, energy on creating some of these videos, if it's not what's going to perform, they want what's going to perform to be up. So if we have a video that goes out and we're seeing lead gen, but we're also not seeing it at the rate we feel like we should, or we feel like that the cost per lead is a little too high, then we're going to go start testing graphics against it. Because maybe the audience responds better to graphics. Maybe it was more visually appealing. Maybe it caught their attention. As a video starts playing, you can have that cover image that's supposed to capture their attention. But if they don't see it, or they scrolled just far enough and the video started playing and they're like, I'm not going to sit here and listen to this guy talk or this lady talk, or I don't care. Like, it looks like they're doing pest control. Like, I don't care. Whereas if we'd had a static graphic that says take advantage of our spring special, 20% off or first service free or buy one, get one, or whatever the case is, or get our guide to, keep the chiggers out of your yard, that would have caught their attention. So you have to be able to expand on what you're doing. You have to be able to sit back and go, maybe it's one of these things. Do we feel like, go down the checklist. Is our offer good? Man, we feel like our offer is really good and it's the best it's going to be. Do we have a clear call to action? Are we telling them what we want them to do? Yeah, right here. It's telling them, to click in for a free estimate, or it's telling them to click here to get our guide to having a chigger free yard, or it's telling them to opt into our VIP list for our boutique and get 25% off, or be notified of exclusive deals and sales first before anybody else. Yeah, we've got a clear call to action. What about our targeting? Well, we know for sure that this is our target audience. We're using lookalike audiences. We're using our email list. We know that this is our audience. Well, then it may come down to creative. How are you talking to them? How are you communicating to them? What does the creative look like? Mix that up. Try video, try graphics, try different videos. Is marketing and advertising is there's a science to it, but it's not always a true science. Every industry vertical is a little different. That's where us personally, as an agency, we didn't choose a niche. We work with financial, we work with retail, we work with manufacturing, we work with all different types of businesses and industries. And so sometimes we have to ensure that we express that target. It kind of gives our clients an advantage because we have knowledge from different industries and experience from different industries and case studies from different industries. But we don't want to get caught in any traps. Like, we don't want to get so one-track minded that our clients are, solely stuck on video. Or why aren't we having another video go up? Well, last month your ad creative, your graphic was what killed it. So we're kind of rolling with that right now. Like, yes, we still need the video. We still 100% need the video because we'll use the video in different places. We'll use it on the website. We'll throw it up on YouTube. We're going to use that video. You still need to be producing video, even if it's for the sake of organic content. But if graphics are what's performing, well, then why in the world would you go and mess up a good thing? You still have to test it. I'm not saying you stick with graphic forever. Again, you're measuring and watching those numbers. If you see the lead count go down, and I don't mean 24 hours, I mean days. Like you watch it, there can be a slight dip in a day. Going in, we talk about an election year. Election year, a lot of people are running really big campaigns, and that cuts into how many people we're able to reach. Black Friday sales, you've got big retailers, big box that are spending six figures over a couple of days in ad spend. Yeah, you're going to see probably a dip in who you're able to reach during those times, but you measure it over time. Like we know that's coming. Now, if we sit back and we watch this campaign's typically producing 20 leads a day, and then for 3 days straight, it's 4 or 8, and we're going, man, something's going on here. Let's keep an eye on this. Let's figure out what is happening. And we start looking through. And a lot of times it'll be creative. We may need to adjust the creative because people are getting it's stale. They've seen it enough times that they're not taking action. We've reached kind of our capacity of what that creative is going to do. So we need to switch it up. Another one, and this is not one again that is a true science, but it's something that you have to sit back and measure, and that is ad spend. We see a lot of accounts that you're expecting these digital ads to completely revolutionize your business and move the needle overnight, but you're spending $5 a day and you're trying to target 250,000 people or 2.5 million people. It's just not reality. Is in what world could you be like going and driving down the road and seeing a billboard on a main thoroughfare that has hundreds of thousands of cars that drive down it every day and be like, man, that would be a great billboard for my store. And then you calling the people and being like, I've got $100. And they're like, this billboard is seen by a couple 100,000 people a day. On what planet would we let you advertise on it for, a couple $100? Like this billboard's $5,000 a month. Like that's the reality. I'm still a huge believer, and I know it as fact, that digital ads are paramount as far as brand reach and exposure. You're going to get more eyeballs on your stuff than anything else that you could possibly do for the dollar. I know that. I know that for fact. So if your main goal is to continue to stay top of mind and do branding and do reach and get people to see your stuff and know that you exist and that you're around, the number one, this is a Grant Cardone statement from years and years and years ago, whether you like him or not, he said the number one killer of small business is obscurity, that people just simply don't know who you are and what you do and that you're around. So branding is a great effort. We have a lot of our clients that, yes, we're doing lead gen, but we're also doing brand awareness. Like we're continuing to push the envelope so people know who they are. So that way, when they do see the lead gen roll around, they're familiar with them and they're willing to engage with them. But you have to have a measurable ad spend. And a lot of industries are different. Whereas we could say generate a $2 lead over here on this side for this particular business, it might be $18 over here. It might be $25, but it's all measured against what's that value to you. And again, we go back to lifetime value. It's not, if we spent $25 to get you a lead and it takes you 4 leads to get a close, you spend $100 for a customer acquisition, but you profit $3,000 off that customer the first time. And ideally, they spend money with you every year, every 3 years, and they average customer stays with you for 3 years, and they spend that money every year. It's $9,000. $3,000, $3,000, $3,000. It's $9,000, and you spend $100 to get them. So the return is incredible, but you have to be able to measure those expectations. I've talked to clients before, and I'm like, what does the average client pay you? And they're like, average client spends with us, $2,500. And how many times do they spend that $2,500 with you? Well, they, average customers with us about 5 years, and they buy something, every other year. Okay, so 5 years, $2,500. Talking about $5,000. Let's, for change, let's say $7,000, because you got the half year in there. Talking about $7,000. Well, what are you reasonably willing to spend to acquire a lead? $20. Is it possible in some industries? Yeah. But is it possible across the board? Absolutely not. That lead may be $75. But for you to spend $75 to turn into $7,500 lifetime, is that worth it? I think most of us would agree that we would take that exchange every day. If someone goes, give me 75 and I'll hand you 7,500 back over 3 years, I think I'd take that deal every day. I would just be shelling out $75 nonstop because it's worth it. It makes sense in the long run. Now, sure, as those margins get slimmer, if you have to spend $20 to make $100, still a great return in my opinion. What about $20 to get $40? But they shop with you 6 times in a year. You have to start measuring those things. And there's not a true science to it. I can give you industry averages of cost per click and cost per lead and different things like that. And, our agency is really good at typically beating those numbers. And that's our goal. But the reality is that you have to have reasonable expectations. If you're spending $5 a day and you're getting a lead every 10 days, you're spending $50 to get a lead. You're like, I want to increase lead flow. These are great, but I want to increase it. Spend more money. I'm going to spend $50 a day. I'm going to get a lead every day. And realistically, ads don't always scale. So if you're getting, like I just said, $5 a day, 10 days, you get one lead that's $50. Doesn't always mean that if you spend $50 a day, you're going to get a lead every day. We've seen it work both ways, where your lead cost could go up just a bit. Typically, when you scale in that scenario, you're going to go up. You're probably going to wind up getting leads for cheaper. They're going to wind up being $35 or $40 because the platform sees that you're willing to spend money and you're not cheap and you're not only spending $5 a day. They see that you're trying to scale it. Now you take that number to $5,000 a day, it may not scale the exact same way. The numbers might change just a little bit because, again, you may reach the capacity of your audience. If you're only targeting 15, 20,000 people, you're going to hit all of those people in a matter of days, if not one day. And it's not going to scale the same. So you have to start expanding. You go, okay, we were in this 25-mile radius. Now we're going to go out to 50 miles, and then we're going to layer in this other location that we're going to open up. You have to start measuring that a little bit and go, okay, what do we do? What do we do to scale that, continue to scale that? But the reality is that you've got to be willing to spend the amount of money to reach the audience. And I understand some companies are not in a position to do that. Some companies, saying spend $20 a day, there's no way. They couldn't afford it. But I think most of them could if they knew what the outcome would be. If they knew that measurable. And again, it's not an answer that we can give day one, especially if your industry is brand new, especially if you've done zero marketing, especially if you have zero brand awareness. There may be a lot of work for us to do to get people even know who you are before they're even willing to do any type of business with you or gauge any type of interest. So you have to be willing to invest to be able to get your message out in front of your target audience. And the measurable you start with is targeting. You build out your targeting, go, how many people are in this targeting? It says, 750,000 people. What are you reasonably willing to spend to reach 750,000 people? And keep in mind that typically they're not making a decision or taking any immediate action the first time they see you. So it might take a couple of times of being exposed to what you do. You've got to reach them 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 or 5, depending on your industry. What are you reasonably willing to spend to make that happen? And I don't think that any of you, my encouragement would be, and it's not just about what we do, but my encouragement would be is don't quit just because you've ran ads for 30 days and you've spent a little bit of money and you don't see the immediate conversions that you're wanting to see. I think you have to measure it with expectations. I would never roll out something in our business that I wasn't willing to run for a quarter, at least. And realistically, I would make a decision to do anything or pull the trigger on something I wasn't willing to commit to for a year. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. And I don't care what that is. It could be this marketing, advertising, it could be hiring an agency, it could be rolling out a CRM. I mean, absolutely. If you roll out something brand new and it's just not what it was supposed to be and it winds up flopping and it's completely not working, or you're spending $1,500 a day on ads, then yeah, you got to figure some stuff out pretty quickly. But if you're spending $1,500 a month on ads and you're probably working with someone like me or have a very high level team that you're confident in, that you're going to see the results. So you're not concerned. You're not worried about it. But you have to measure what you're spending in ad spend with what your realistic expectation is for that ad spend. So keep that in mind. And again, you can go back and you can research yourself what industry averages for cost per lead on social media, on Google, on the different platforms, and you can do that rough math. Again, it is an estimate. It's going to be nationwide, and they may be executing at an extremely high level. They may have incredible creative. They may have hired an agency like us to shoot their content. You just have to keep all that in consideration, but reasonably bump the number up a little bit, bump it by 25% and go, okay, that's the lead number. We want this many leads per month. This is what we're going to have to spend. This is what we need to dedicate to this ad spend to make sure it works. Last, but certainly not least, and this really is, I guess this one is in order, is the follow-up. Is that I see on a regular basis that they have a campaign that's running that is measuring interest. It's a branding type campaign, but that's it. They have that running. It's got 50, 60, 80, 100,000 views on it, but there's nothing next. They launched this campaign and they're wanting to do brand exposure and they're getting eyeballs on it. People are discovering their business. People maybe are seeing it for the first time. People may have a level of interest. And sure, as a byproduct, are people clicking over to their social media accounts and checking them out? If they may be clicking over to the website, maybe some of them send a message or call. Sure, small percentage. But if you're not implementing a solid follow-up strategy, and a follow-up strategy can be, well, they didn't give me their name, they didn't fill anything out or whatever. Sure, it was a branding campaign. I get that. But if you're not implementing that secondary campaign, like we talked about with the video views that these people watch, we've got 80,000 people that have been exposed to our brand and have watched this video. How many people have watched it? 25%. Okay, maybe a significant percentage less. Maybe it's 20,000 out of the 80,000. 20,000 people. How many people watched half of it? Okay, a whole lot less. Maybe there's 5,000 people that watched half of it. It's 5,000 potential customers that watched half of your video. You have to think about it. The attention span of the average American is that, literally that. So if someone sat there and watched 25 seconds of your video, people won't even stay on a funny dog or cat video for that long in some cases. So if they were willing to stay around for 25 seconds of your video, there's something in there that was appealing to them. They need pest control. They want to shop at your boutique. They need an insurance quote. They want to build a house. They need a loan. There's a reason that they were interested. But what have we done in a lot of these cases when we're looking at these accounts that we're consulting on is we go, what's the next process? Well, we're hoping that they follow us and, we're really trying to gain followers and we're trying to, sure, on board with you, completely get that. How many followers are you netting? Well, we're netting a couple hundred followers each month off of our, great, it's good. But why are we not doing something to move the needle? And that's an expression that I use regularly, probably used it 5 times on this video, is that you want to be moving the needle. You want to be taking action on the investment you've already made. So if there are people that are watching that video, there should absolutely 100% be a secondary campaign behind it that is targeting people that watch a certain percentage of your video. And you could say something along the lines of, hey, we noticed that you watched our video. We're hoping to be able to serve more and more people in the community. We're offering an XYZ. If you just click this link below, you can schedule that appointment, or you can request more information, or you can get our free guide, or you can claim your 50% off, yada, 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 so on and so on and so on and so on. You have that secondary campaign. There is no follow-up on a lot of them. They're running a singular campaign. They're running it as website traffic, but then they don't have a pixel installed. What is a pixel? If you don't know what a pixel is a piece of code that is installed on your website that is essentially a little bit of a tracker. And what it does is that when someone clicks on your ad that's sending them over to the website, a little beacon goes off and pings back to Facebook and says, this person, this IP address, this profile, this avatar, hit the website. And you can build out all kinds of different trackers. You could have specific page views where if they went and they looked at something, you could have add to cart codes to where if someone was shopping on your e-commerce site and they added something to the cart but didn't check out, you can measure that. You can measure someone that did check out, and all the different marketing and advertising that would go to those specific individuals would be different. If they just went to your website, maybe the promotion that's back to them. Have any of you ever been on Best Buy or Capital One or your bank's website, or you were roaming around on Amazon, and then you hop back over to social media, and maybe within minutes or later that day or the next day, you got an ad that's popping up that's like, man, I was just looking at this TV over on Best Buy. Or I was just shopping for these brand new Crocs that came out. They got the new little, bedazzled thing on them. I was just looking at those on Amazon for my kiddo. And then, or maybe yourself, I'm no judgment. And then you have it pop up in your feed and you're going, oh, they're listening to me. They're spying on me. No, they're tracking you. They've got code installed. And you could be doing the same thing. But there's no follow-up. There's no thought about that. And the reality could be is that you don't know how to do that. Your team doesn't know how to do that. We do. It's what we do every day. But you don't have us. You're working on your own. But there are these strategies that go above and beyond, the ones that have wrote off digital ads, digital marketing, digital advertising, and go, it doesn't work for my business. You're probably wrong. And it probably would work very, very well if you had the right systems in place. You had the right follow-up sequences. What about, let's say they opted in. Let's say they said, yeah, I want to be on your VIP list. What happens after that? Do they get an email welcoming them with an exclusive first-time joining offer to, come on in the store and get their ice cream or buy their new shirt or jeans or try your pest control service out or get a free consult for a home loan? Like what happens next? Do you have a sequence that happens? Do they get an email? Do they get a text? Do they get both? I showcased a workflow that we built out for one of our clients. It's like 40 steps. 40 is a lot. But it followed them through the process of like, if they've engaged with us, they've asked us for information, then we're going to keep following up with them until they tell us to stop. It's a sales cycle, is that we're going to send them the information they requested, and then we're going to follow up with them in a reasonable amount of time. We're not going to bug them. We're not going to spam them. We actually have an extremely low opt-out rate on this particular campaign that I'm talking about. And it alternates, is it will send them an email. It'll ask them some information. If they don't respond to that email, it's then going to wait a little while and it's going to send them a text message. If they don't respond to that, it's going to flip back to email. We're going to go through this kind of sequence of events to get them to either answer our questions or engage with us more or ultimately opt out. We do it very, very carefully, is we don't want to spam someone where they go, man, I should have never filled out that form. I knew this was going to happen. These folks have texted me 8 times. They've emailed me 42 times. And like, I'm marking them as spam. I'm deleting, I'm unsubscribing, I'm texting stop. I'm doing all the things. We want to do it in a reasonable amount of time to where we're top of mind, but we want to do it in a way where we're still delivering value. So we've gotten very creative. And again, I'm not going to give out our client's secret sauce because they pay us money for that. We've gotten very creative with why we reach out and how we do it and the timing that's there. But it's all automated. Our clients don't have to pick up a phone and send a text message. They don't have to go click send on an email. Like, we've done it all for them. But what I'm getting at is you are capable of this too. Is that if you are spending time and energy and effort to get all of these other things right, offer, call to action, targeting, creative, ad spend, you got it all honed in, but then you're not taking action on the people taking action on your business. So you have to have a clear path. And sometimes what it takes is it goes back over here and like hopping up on your whiteboard and going, here's our ad. And we go through these lists. We go through the offer, call to action, targeted, creative, ad spend, and we go, okay, check. All those things are good. What happens? What happens next? Okay, first of all, this is a branding ad. So then arrow goes over to people that watch, 25%, we want to retarget them with this, which is asking them to take a next level of action, go to our website, click our thing, opt in, fill out our form, whatever it is. But then what's the output from that? If they do that, they do those things, what happens next? Well, we're going to automate an email, and all of you are capable of doing this. We do it for our clients, but all of you are capable of doing this. You can go subscribe to MailChimp or any of these other ones to automate this process. You can go subscribe to different SMS platforms to send SMS. You can go build those things out. Yeah, it takes time, it takes some thought, and it takes some planning, but you can do that. You can absolutely execute on that. But what about the ones that maybe got delivered that second ad, but didn't take action on it yet? Well, you haven't hit their action threshold yet. They need more info. They need more value. So we're going to kick those folks over here to another campaign. Maybe it is, if you're a financial planner, maybe it's a webinar. If you are a realtor, maybe it's a webinar. Maybe it's a live training. Maybe it's a pre-recorded training. Maybe you're going to give them more value. Maybe you're going to deliver them an ad talking about some accolades you guys have, top this, that, we were voted this, we were voted that. Like, you're going to continue to try to cultivate that relationship. There is no reason. And you kick them into like a certain drip campaign to where they're going to see a little bit of you going forward, and you're going to gauge their interest. You're going to continue. You may deliver up another opt in, click this button, give me your info. You may test it again and see, like, have we delivered enough value? At a certain point, do they move out of your funnel? And that's exactly what we're talking through right now, is a funnel. Yes, they do. At a certain point, you don't want to spend any more money on them. They've been exposed to your brand and what you do and your offering tens of times, 20 times, 50 times. They've seen you because you've run them through. And I don't even think you need to go to 50. I don't even know you need to go to 20. I would say by the, if they've seen you 4 or 5 times and they haven't taken any action, then they might be what I would call like the cold bucket, which maybe you recycle that, once a quarter, where you go back through and redeliver, and you take that list of those people and you dump it in there and you go, hey, let's throw something out to these folks and gauge some interest. If there's no action takers on that, they move out and they skip a quarter. There's plans, but you have to have a plan. You have to roll through that and go, what is our follow-up sequence? What happens? Let's say they do actually fill out a lead form and they go, I'm interested. I want more information. I want the 20% off. I want the VIP list. I want the pest control service. What happens then? Is it a manual process? Is the calendar link sent to them? Are they kicked over to your website? Is there a manual part of it where a person reaches out to them and says, hey, thank you so much for filling this out. We got your information. We wanted to verify it. We've automated that process. And I don't think it all has to be automated. Some of your businesses are very personable and you want to be able to have that touch point and you want to be able to call them right away. First person to the lead wins. So if that lead comes in and you hop on the phone and you've got your staff that goes, hey, this is so-and-so from, Bob's Pest Control, and we saw your information come through and we'd love to, get this quote over to you, want to verify your information, make sure it's all correct. 123 Anywhere Street. And you verify the info. And then you make sure that within a reasonable amount of time, either a tech is going out there to look at their yard or you're sending them, whatever your process is. Some of you have standard rates and you're able to send that right over. Maybe even be able to talk to them about that on the phone. But on the back end of that, what if that's not your process? What if the process is like, we're going to be sending them information, or we're going to be getting them on our VIP list? What are the next steps? You want to write that out too. And you want to navigate that. And you want to go, okay, if they opt in and they want our information, and we're going to be sending them out. Maybe you're sending them out something that cost you something. Maybe it's a package. Maybe it's a information kit. Maybe it's, who knows? It could be anything. Well, you may have another level of lead verification that's built into that. And again, you guys could build out these automations on your own, or you can call us, of course. But we have one client that we do exactly that. When that lead form comes in, it doesn't go immediately over to the client. it goes through a lead verification process, and it is email and SMS, depending on if they respond or don't respond. If they don't respond to the SMS, then they're going to get the email. But if they respond back to the email or the SMS and they say, yep, all that information is correct, I'm looking forward to it, then it's forwarded over to the client. If it comes back and they go, no, that phone number is wrong, or that address is wrong, or some type of information is incorrect, then we automate an information correction form that is sent over to them. But again, all automated. Clients don't have to worry about it. They're worried about the ones that come in that say, this is verified. These are the ones we take action on. And it's able to reduce their spend from sending out information and time and taking that energy to send it out to an incorrect address or the phone number wasn't right. At the end of the day, we want real opportunities for our clients. So that being said, you want to make sure you have that solid follow-up process. So just recapping and walking through these things, you want to have an incredible offer. And again, doesn't have to be monetary. Monetary works as well, but you want to have something that is irresistible, something that is high perceived value. Keep that in your mind. Write that down. High perceived value. That's what you want. You want a clear call to action. You want to make sure your targeting is honed in. You want to make sure your creative is solid and it mentions that call to action and the offer, and don't get stuck on one creative or the other, video or graphics. You want to integrate both. You want to hone in your ad spend and have realistic expectations for that ad spend. And you want to make sure you have a solid follow-up system in place and you know what you're doing with your clients after you've spent time, energy, and money to secure them. This is our entire episode. I wanted to walk you through this. These are the top 6 things that we find when Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads fail. Why do they fail? Why do they not work? These are the top 6 reasons why. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you can take some of this information and implement it into your business and start executing at an extremely high level when it comes to digital advertising and marketing. If none of this makes sense to you, if you do not want to tackle any of this on your own, we'd be glad to have a conversation. I mentioned we do discovery calls. I don't want to make this podcast about a pitch, but it is what we do. So if you're interested and you would like to chat with us, reach out. There's multiple ways. You can go Google Speak Loud Group. You can go to speakloudgroup.com. You can go to our social media. You can comment on this video wherever you're watching it or wherever you're listening, and we'll be sure to see it and we'll reach out to you. But thank you for watching. Once again, if you're listening somewhere, leave us a rating. We would love that. If you're watching it over on YouTube, then absolutely please give us a like, throw a comment, let us know what you thought, and absolutely subscribe. Maybe share it. Share it to some people. We want to help. We hope to bring impact to the small and medium and even large business community. Like, we think that some of these things are helpful, not just what we bring to the table, but absolutely some of these interviews that we're able to do and talk to people that have gone on kind of before us and done some really cool stuff that we can take and learn from. And so we're better together that way. So again, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.